kind. Everything is connected. The smallest things directly influence the largest things, protons and neutrons. We'll say electrons have a superpower. But according to quantum physics, they don't choose just one option, but do everything they possibly can at the same time.
This discipline of the smallest building blocks of the universe found out that matter splits above a certain threshold into an elusive and above all predictable substance. Quanta, which are elementary building blocks of this world, take on a wave form instead of a particle form above a certain threshold. This means that everything that was previously certain, solid, and definable blurs into a potential, and this undefined potential has even more interesting properties. In fact, scientists can no longer even determine the whereabouts of these waves. It's impossible to determine whether these waves are still in our space, whether the space dissolves at this threshold, or whether the particle waves can form several realities at the same time.
You can travel to an alternate universe. In fact, you're already in many of them at this very moment. You're making every possible choice you can all the time. And in this way, you're constantly traveling between parallel universes without even knowing it. They might even find gateways to them.
We have 300 million modules in our neocortex, each of which can recognize a pattern. They're organized in this hierarchy. We create that hierarchy with our own thinking.
What if we told you that you temporarily live in a completely different universe than your neighbor? But there is evidence to prove just that. Within our universe, countless variations could exist, starting right outside your front door or after your next thought.
Kind. Everything is connected. The smallest things directly influence the largest things.
We have 300 million modules in our neocortex, each of which can recognize a pattern. They're organized in this hierarchy. We create that hierarchy with our own thinking.
No one knows how entanglement works, or for any sort of major quantum phenomenon for that matter. But one thing is for sure, that these are the building blocks of life, our planet, our solar system, and eventually the whole universe.
Brains may not in a quantum mechanical way. If brain processes depend on quantum mechanics, it may explain why our brains are so powerful. Brain activity, even consciousness, may operate at the quantum level. Our brain is an astonishingly powerful computer that uses not only neurons but also the connections between them to process and interpret information. How our brain consciousness arises is one of the most complex questions that quantum processes, including entanglement, may help explain the vast capabilities of the brain and its consciousness. Entanglement may be at play in our brains through testing the technology of quantum gravity. This means that consciousness is non-classical and must operate non-classically. Unifying these fields under a single theory is what quantum gravity deals with, helping scientists understand the fundamental forces governing the universe. As both quantum gravity and quantum processes in the brain are complex, recent studies of quantum gravity suggest that an unknown system can act as a mediator between two known quantum systems if the medium itself is non-classical, and that there is interaction between the mediator and the unknown system. This approach can also be applied to quantum operations in the brain, which are believed to be related to consciousness and cognition. Using magnetic resonance imaging, MRI, technology, scientists observed whether proton rotations in the brain could become entangled through an unknown mediator to learn about the properties of the unknown system, similar to studying quantum gravity. The researchers found that if the unknown system could become entangled with a known system, such as proton rotation in the brain, then the unknown system must be quantum. They conducted an experiment with 40 participants using MRI scans and linked the data to the patient's heartbeats. A heartbeat is not just the movement of an organ inside the body, it also communicates with the brain in both directions, and researchers found that every time the heart beats, an electric signal called a heartbeat-induced potential is generated.
This means that everything that was previously certain, solid, and definable blurs into a potential. And
that is to say, they're not individual particles, but are an inseparable whole.
This signal is related to the interaction between the proton rotation in the MRI signal and may be the result of entanglement, proving the existence of a non-classical mediator. This signal only appears when conscious, indicating that the brain is not classical as previously thought but a powerful quantum system. If these results can be confirmed, they may begin to reveal the secrets of how the brain performs powerful computations and generates consciousness.